Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir. Good evening.
Yeah, hello, namaste, and hello, everyone. Is my audio clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You can hear you.
All right, thank you. And my video?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So, welcome to this session on academic leadership, governance, and management. I'm Aditya Mishra, and I'm here with you. So, for the next 3 hours or so, we'll be looking at the world of academic leadership and also walk you through the world of governance and management, the skills that we require as academic leaders. So we all are academic leaders, by the way, and there's no one who is not a leader. Before we start with the session, let me check with you for a few things. Do you want me to continue in English only? I think it's a mixed group. People from various parts of the country have joined the session. So is it a problem if I continue in English all through?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Not at all. Right. Thank you. So in case at any point during the session, if you feel that you're not being able to follow, please feel free to let me know that. I can try my best to explain that to you. So that is one. And the second is, it's going to be a very long session, and long online sessions are very, very challenging, both physically and psychologically as well. So I have a plan for that at the end of every hour. That means it will be from 4 to 5 and 5 to 6 and 6 to 7. So at the end of every hour, we can go on a break for 10 minutes. So say 5 to 10 minutes if you want to find with that, so that you can refresh your sense and come back. So is that fine with you?
Yes.
Please let me know. Yeah. Thank you. Well, and before I start the session, I begin to walk you through the world of academic leadership, governance, and management. Let me check with you for a few things. The first is, what do you think about academic leadership and how it is different from the other forms of leadership? I'm saying this to you because I'm planning to make this session very, very interactive so that you come forward and participate. Do you want me to make this interactive? This session? Please let me know.
Yeah, definitely, sir.
All right, thank you very much. So that will mean you'll come forward readily to participate and share your views. Okay, so fine. And so I'll be offering a few your demonstrations, a few tasks. I'll be playing videos for you so that we can initiate a discussion on certain aspects of academic leadership as well. Let's go back to the same question that I asked a while ago. What do you think about academic leadership? How do you, visualize an academic leader? And what are the qualities that you'd like to see in an academic leader? So you can either unmute yourself and speak, or you can write in the chat box so that we get to see that. So what are those important qualities that you see or would like to see in an academic leader? So you can start writing in the chat box, visionary, proactive, yes, and decision-making, of course, good decision-making abilities. And any other qualities that you'd like to see in an academic leader? Okay, of course, vision, change management, motivation, mentorship.
Motivating.
Yes, of course, great. Yes, motivation, mentorship, punctuality, time management, disciplined, yes. All right, some great people skills like cooperative skills, collaborative skills, taking people together, leading from the front, and of course, communicative. Yes. Fine. Thank you for sharing those details right away, and meeting the infrastructural needs. And oh yes, empathetic. So do you mean to say that it is empathetic or empathetic? Sensitive, of course. Empathy, emotional intelligence, sensibility, sense and sensibility are some of the top leadership qualities that you would like to see in academic leaders. Fine. So you know how academic leaders should. But before I begin to talk about those things, I'd like you to take a note of something equally important and something equally significant. We are living in the era of digital excellence. When I say digital excellence, that means something great, something big is happening in the world of, or in the digital world every day. To keep pace with this rapidly changing digital world, it's important that we do things to keep ourselves updated. So there are two things on which or towards which I'd like to draw your attention. The first is a quotient. You might have heard about IQ, EQ, and SQ. Have you heard about IQ and EQ? IQ and EQ?
Emotional quotient.
Right, great. And then SQ? Are you familiar with SQ? So it is a spiritual quotient, which is a very important quality these days. Of course, it has always been important, but it's been treated as important, very important these days, spiritual quotient. And then, apart from all these quotients, these qualities, there is something called WQ. Are you familiar with that? I mean, you not get to see this. It's not very, very popular today, but it's going to be very popular in time to come. We call this this is willingness quotient. And as a father of all quotients, a willingness quotient, because until and unless I develop that willingness in myself, nothing will happen. Willingness quotient. How willing I am to learn, to adapt to changes, to bring about the transformation in myself, or to cultivate some great leadership qualities in me. So it is more about willingness quotient than any other thing. Fine. In order to talk or explain what willingness quotient is all about, I'll be taking you to two very interesting things. I'll also be trying an experiment with you all, very brief, short experiment. The first is digital literacy. Okay, digital literacy. So, do you have digital literacy? And do you understand what digital literacy is all about?
Sir, can I say?
Yes.
Sir, digital literacy is changing every time. Before this pandemic, we had different kind of, meaning of digital literacy. Now after pandemic, something else. Now, right now, due to AI and other inventions, quantum mechanics, machine learning, the scenario is totally changed. So it's difficult to say that we are literate digitally, because every time, every moment, this technology is changing. Right now, I feel that I am lagging. I don't know about artificial intelligence. Okay, basics ICT I know. The ICT
All right.
teachers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that response. By digital literacy, we generally mean the ability to operate digital devices. The ability to operate digital devices. That means when individuals and communities understand digital technologies and they know how to use digital devices. For example, we have a smartphone in our pockets. Almost all of us have a smartphone in our pockets these days. And we know how to operate a smartphone. Okay. So I may be digitally literate. Okay. There's something else beyond digital literacy. It is called information literacy. And when we think of digital literacy and when we look at our students, what is your opinion? Do you think they are better at digital literacy in comparison to us, or we are better? Our students are better than us? Of course, they are better than us when it comes to digital literacy. Now let's focus on the second aspect of that is information literacy. So what is information literacy and what do you think about it? What is information literacy according to you? Do you know what information literacy is all about? Yes, what is information literacy? And what do you think about it? For example, I have a great amount of digital literacy. Oh yes, ability to find, evaluate, organize. Oh yes, that's taken straight away from the internet. All right, fine. But then that's true. It's an ability to find, not just find, but to evaluate, organize, use, and communicate information. So that is information literacy. Now, what is your opinion about the information literacy of your students? They are digitally very, very literate. There's no doubt about it. They have a great amount of digital literacy. But what do you think about their information literacy? Do you think their information literacy level is also very high, or it lacks? So it's not as high. And that is the gap which can be filled by the academic leaders. So the very idea of academic leadership begins there. So this is a gap that can be filled. So academic leadership has several important functions, several important objectives. And this is one of those important functions, information literacy. So if you allow me, I'll promptly conduct an experiment to check the information literacy levels, right? So please give me a few seconds so that I can share my screen with you. And then we'll take up this. So please let me know when it's shared with you. I think my screen is already shared with you. Please let me know. So screen is visible, sir. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So I'll quickly take you to this particular thing. Yes, sir. I think my screen is visible to you now. Yes. And one more check. Please help me with that. When I move the slides, do they actually move? Yes, sir. Thank you. So, fine. This is how the session has been structured. I'll be talking about academic leadership, and then I'll also be talking about governance and management. Some of the most important skills that we require in order to do this well. And then we can also have a Q&A session at the end of it, or at the end of every hour, we can also go for an interaction. And in between, we can also go for interaction if you all wish. Now take a look at the screen. So you're getting to see two images, one on your left, one on your right. So can you please let us know what you're getting to see on your left? Yes. Are you familiar with this? Is this visible to you? Please let me know.
Yes, sir.
All right. What are you getting to see on your screen? You're not familiar with this celebrity? Are you familiar with this celebrity?
No, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. Can you name? There is no ban on naming, especially for the male participants.
Sanura Patel, choreographer.
Okay. And it's very strange that we didn't get any response from the male participants. And trust me, there is no ban on that. You can name. So, are you familiar with this? Yes. All right, Nora Fatehi, a Bollywood celebrity, of course. What are you getting to see on your right? This one.
The logo says all.
Yes. Are you familiar with this? What it is? Are you familiar with this? It's a logo. Right, logo. Yes, fine. So what is this logo about? No, just a logo, right? Fine. Now let me show you something else. Okay. What about this? Are you familiar with this?
Yes, sir.
Right. And what is this? Any idea? All right, Badshah on left, singer, digital representation, right?
Indian rapper, sir. Badshah.
Indian rapper, right. Indian rapper, Badshah. Fine. And then on the right, what are you going to see?
Can't guess, sir.
Okay, fine, no issues. Right. Now, I'll tell you what you're getting to see on your right in these two slides. On your left, of course, you're going to see the image of a very popular Bollywood celebrity, Nora Fatehi. And then on the right, you're getting to see the trademark of a certain thing. So you can see, can you see the trademark here? The TM symbol, that means trademark. And it is OWL, which stands for Online Writing Lab. So this is Online Writing Lab. Writing Lab at the University of Purdue. There may be some typing errors. I'm typing fast, so please ignore the typing errors. So it is Online Writing Lab, OWL, at University of Purdue. It is one of the finest writing labs. You know, have you heard about writing labs? Please let me know.
No, sir.
Okay, writing labs are very, very important labs. In fact, they help the learners with writing skills. And we all know writing is the most important skill, and it's the most difficult skill because that comes at the end of it, our language acquisition journey. So writing is the most important and the most difficult skill. We need a lot of focus, a lot of hard work in order to master the writing skills. When you look at our university system, our academic system, do we have writing labs at colleges and universities? Have you heard about any writing lab at a college?
No, sir. No.
Even the top universities, the top colleges do not have a writing lab. There are some private colleges that have writing labs because they understand the value of writing labs. Now, when we do not have a writing lab,
We have phonetic labs, but never heard of a writing lab, sir.
yes, right. So when we do not have a writing lab, then how can we expect our students to be good at writing? Did we ever give them any course in writing? Did we ever give them an exposure in writing skills? When we do not have a writing lab, we cannot give them either any course or exposure in writing skills. And when that happens, our students lack the basic writing skills. And then they do not have any other option but to mug up the answers and reproduce the same content while writing answers during exams. One. And the second is they take to plagiarism. They copy content from other sources because they do not know how to write. They lack that skill. So Online Writing Lab is one such writing labs that offers writing help for free. So if I have to improve my writing skills, I can easily access content from OWN at the University of Purdue. It comes to me for free. They don't charge anything. Similarly, there are a lot of universities in the West that have writing labs. Even schools in the West have writing labs. What's interesting about this is English, despite being their language, their native language, they still have established writing labs because they want to give that exposure to their students. They want to enhance the writing skill of their students. The second image that I showed you, this one, Badsha, and on the right you saw something you might have noticed 10, 20, and 30. All right. Presentation skill is a very important skill. Do you agree with me or you have different views? Presentation skill. Dr. Sumedha, you have raised your hand. Would you like to ask any question? Do you have a question, Dr. Sumedha Singh? You have raised your hand. Okay, fine. So, presentation skill is a very important skill. Right. So the image that you get to see, 10, 20, 30, it's called the 10, 20, 30 principle of presentation skills. 10, 20, 30 principle. It's developed by Guy Kawasaki, a Silicon Valley entrepreneur. Most corporations in the corporate world, this is a standard for presentations. That means corporate business presentations should not be more than 10 slides, shouldn't be more than 20 minutes, and should not be less than 30 font. So this is a standard rule. I do not want to say that there cannot be any modification to this framework. But
Can you please repeat what you said, sir?
Yes. It is called the 10, 20, 30 presentation rule developed by Guy Kawasaki, a Silicon Valley entrepreneur. I've written about him in the chat box, 10, 20, 30 rule of presentation. So in the corporate world, they generally prefer a presentation that is not more than 10 slides, 20 minutes, and not less than 30 font. So whenever we create presentations, in order to make them effective presentations, it's important that we take care of these things. But I do not want to tell that this is a very hard and fast framework that cannot be modified at all. It can be modified, of course, but we still have a framework to guide us. So by conducting this experiment, I'm trying to tell you that there's a huge difference between digital literacy and information literacy. Our students have a great amount of digital literacy. We can never match those standards. They'll always be far ahead of us. But when it comes to information literacy, they probably lack a lot. They do not understand what they actually need. So it's very, very important that we find resources to entertain us. That's important. But at the same time, we also need to find resources that can help us learn and grow and update ourselves and keep pace with the changing times. This is exactly where an academic leader can play a major role. I'll also talk about something that will be of great value to all of you. I'm writing something in the chat box, so please take a look at that. As academics, we are required to supervise research. And you probably supervise research. Most of you probably, and even all of you. Do you supervise research? I mean to say, do you have research scholars working with you? Yes, so most of you are probably, supervising the research or the research work of scholars, young scholars. Fine. So when it comes to research, this is one thing that matters a lot. A thesis generator means to generate a thesis statement or a problem statement. If I do not know the problem, then what am I going to solve? Our research is all about finding a problem and solving it. Either we add more knowledge to an existing body of knowledge, or we propose a framework, or we propose the protocol for a product. So whenever we conduct research, we generally look at a problem statement or a problem, and then the solutions, the possible solutions. So at the beginning, we need a problem statement or a thesis statement. And most young researchers generally struggle with this particular task, that is, formulating a thesis statement at the beginning of their research. That's exactly where an academic leader, who in this case is a thesis advisor or a mentor, plays an important role. Now, another instance of information literacy. Thesis generator. Have you heard about this wonderful thing, thesis generator? That means there is something that will immediately generate a thesis statement for you. Have you heard about it? Have you ever tried this? The thesis generator. That means there is something that will help you.
No, sir. Is it a software, sir?
Yeah, it's a software.
Never heard of it, sir.
Okay. So I'll give you a live demo of that. So my screen is already shared with you. I'll now take you to a thesis generator. So all you need to do, can you see the Google search box?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I just typed thesis generator, fine. And the search results are right in front of me. The first search result, there are multiple other results as well, equally important. Let's go to the first search result, that is UAGC Writing Center. I talked about writing centers. People now do not talk about language labs. They talk about writing centers and writing and communication centers. So UAGC Writing Center, this is the University of Arizona Writing Center, global campus. So UA, that is University of Arizona, has a global campus, and they have established a writing center there. So let me click this. Now we are getting to see the thesis generator. Is it visible to you? Please let me know.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is the thesis generator for writing an argumentative thesis, because our theses are argumentative in nature. So they are called argumentative thesis. All you have to do is to scroll down, and then you come to a few things. There are 5 or 6 steps. So go to step 1. This is step 1. All you need to do is to state your topic. There's a box for that. You can delete this, and then you just state your topic, even in a rudimentary manner as well. They have given a sample topic. If the topic is monitoring children's television use, fine. You write it there, then you go to the next step. Scroll down and go to the next step. That is step 2. Now you state your main idea about this topic. What do you think about that topic? All right, monitoring children's television use. So Under this, you can think of these things. Express one major idea about that particular topic. And then you can assert something specific about that topic. And you can take a stance on that topic. That is, what is your argument about that topic? Monitoring television use of children. Do you think it should be monitored or should not be monitored, or it should be partially monitored? Whatever your stance is, you have to mention that here. And then you need to state your position as well. So when you state your position, you can also do that. Now, this is the stance. It's a sample stance. Parents should regulate the amount of television their children watch. This is your stand. You strongly believe that the amount of television children watch must be regulated by their parents. Fine. Why do you think so? Give one reason. Now, let's take a look at the reason. This is the reason. You think watching television is not always intellectually stimulating. This is reason one. There may be another reason. Come down and give another reason. This can be another reason. It prevents social interaction. When children remain or stay glued to the television sets, the screen, they hardly get time to interact socially. So it prevents social interaction. That is reason number two. And then if you have more reasons, you can also give another reason. So it can interfere with good sleeping habits. That can be your reason number three. Fine. When you have given all these reasons, you can still go down and you can include an opposing viewpoint to your idea. Because in research, we all know that no one researcher can ever be perfect. So you have to give that concession to other researchers as well. So we need to value the other viewpoints as well in research. So it can be an opposing viewpoint like this. This is an example. Despite all these three problems, according to you, television can also be educational, right? It may prevent social interaction. It may not be intellectually stimulating. It may interfere with good sleeping habits, but still it can be educational. Fine. Now you come to the end of it. Are you getting to see this button? This one? Yes, please let me know.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. So just click that. Your thesis statement is ready. Let's take a look at it. This is your thesis statement. While television use can be educational, parents should regulate the amount of television their children watch because it is not always intellectually stimulating, it prevents social interaction, and it can interfere with good sleeping habits. So your thesis statement is ready. Now you have the framework for your thesis. You can go ahead and try the literature review now. You can collect material and go for the literature review now. So how was that? Yes.
Sir, but in Indian we don't write such kind of research statements.
Can you come again? Can you come again? Yes, please.
So I'm saying that in India, we do not write such kind of statements for PhD.
Why?
I didn't find any like that. Even people say you cannot frame like this.
Why?
But this is the practice. Maybe they are not following this thing as you are showing it.
No, that's very strange.
Yes.
How can somebody move about a thesis or research?
No, right? Like because while these words are not used, conjunctions.
Oh yes, I said. You see, this is a framework. When you formulate a problem statement, you can see the problem clearly, And you can also see the various aspects of that problem clearly. And that's how you are ready to start your research. So that's the reason why we need this at the very beginning of the research journey, because without a problem statement or a thesis statement, it is impossible to go about conducting research. So that's the reason why this is very, very important, the problem statement. Okay, and that's the reason why young researchers struggle. They do not know what a problem statement is. Most often they do not know what they are doing. So what they are researching, what problem they are out to solve. And that's the reason why it leads to problems. And that's the reason. So what I mean to say is information literacy is a key. Digital literacy is not the key. It's very easy to, adapt to digital literacy or adopt digital literacy. But information literacy is something that separates a leader from a non-leader. Academic leaders are expected to have a great amount of information literacy so that we can give the right kind of information. We can pass on the right kind of information, the right kind of exposure to the students. And that's the reason why I started by talking about the difference between digital literacy and information literacy. So the most important point that brings us to is, there are in fact two important things: updates and recharges. So these techniques, these academic leadership techniques, are called updates and recharge, or update and recharge technique. You might have heard about updates. You all use smartphones. Am I right? You all use smartphones?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there's something very interesting that happens to the smartphones every second or third day. The smartphones get updates. I mean, the apps that we have installed on the smartphones, they are regularly updated. Am I right? They're regularly updated, the smartphone apps. And most of us...
Yes, sir, the updates come.
Yes, in order to avoid the trouble, most of us have, put the automatic updates on so that the apps get updated automatically. Why do we update the apps on the smartphones? And if we do not update the smartphone apps, what may happen? What is your response?
So we update our smartphones in order to run the apps smoothly.
Right. And if we do not update the apps, what may happen?
Some technical glitch will arrive, sir, on the phone.
Okay, the apps, the applications may not just function smoothly. They may not work well. They may develop some issues.
Yes, sir.
They may be hit by bugs or some malwares or whatever. They may be right. How often do we think of do you also think that we also have certain apps inside us? Humans have certain apps inside them. Like in the beginning, you all responded by saying motivation, mentoring, decision-making, problem-solving, communicating. Do you think these are the apps that we have in ourselves?
Sir, some neuro connections.
All right, of course. And then the question is, how often do we update these apps? Do we update?
We don't think about it. I think nobody will about think.
All right, FDPs, and that's the reason why we have FDPs and STCs, STTPs. All right, you're doing it with us. All right, fine. So it is important because academic leadership is all about remaining or staying valid. Okay, so this is the biggest challenge. Staying valid in the era of YouTube. In the era of YouTube, how difficult it is for the academic leaders to stay valid, isn't it? If we are not valid, the students will depend more on YouTube videos than on us. So there is of course a big challenge. It's a survival issue, of course. And that's the reason why it is important that we keep updating the apps that we have inside us.
So,
Information. Yes.
mindset plays a very crucial role in this.
Exactly. And that is the reason why I talked about willingness quotient.
Yes, sir.
It is willingness quotient. It's all in the mind, the mindset. So we need to update these apps in multiple ways. For example, starting with a very simple analysis like the SWOT analysis. You might have heard about it. The SWOT, now it is called SWOT analysis, not SWOT. So T has been replaced with C. So T, threat, is replaced with C, challenge. So SWOT analysis, a short, simple analysis every 6 months or every 3 months, so that we get to know how we are doing in life, how we're doing as academic leaders, how we are doing as professionals. So that's going to help a great deal. And that's the reason why it is important that we keep ourselves updated, especially these apps, empathy, emotional intelligence, our well-being apps. We have a lot of well-being apps inside us. So if we do not update them regularly, then will not remain valid anymore. And then will become invalid gradually. So it's important that we update this. So with that, since most of you responded to my question on what is leadership and what are those qualities that you would like to see in an academic leader. So you also wrote about communication, mentorship, and various other things. So now if you all agree, I can go for a short test on you to help you discover your communication styles. We all are academic leaders, and that means we all communicate regularly, and we do well, isn't it? But it's also important at the same time that we understand our communication style. For example, do you know what your communication style is? And Dr. Chaudhary, do you know what your communication style is? So most often we do not, try to understand, or we do not try to know what our communication style is. So would you like to take this test to discover your communication styles, how you communicate? Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Fine.
Yes, sir.
So, all right then. So let me briefly introduce the test to you. I'm going to show you 80 statements, not questions. 80. All right. Please ignore the typing error. That is 80. I'm going to show you 80 statements, and these 80 statements have been arranged in 40 pairs, 40 pairs. That means in each of these pairs, there are 2 statements. So statement number 1 and statement number 2 form one pair. Okay. All you have to do is to get a piece of paper or a notebook ready with you and a pen or a pencil so that you can take this test, right? When I display the statements, you will quickly and naturally pick a statement that you can identify with. So you can select statements. You can select only one statement out of one pair. That means in pair 1, there are 2 statements, but you can select any one of those statements. And all you need to do is to note down the serial number of that statement. You don't have to write the statement. Okay? Is that clear, or you still want me to elaborate? Right. Thank you. So I'll be showing you, and then please, there are 2 things, because there are 2 things. Let me make them clear to you. This test is indicative in nature. So let's not claim that it is 100% accurate. But the accuracy level will gradually grow when your response is natural, spontaneous. If you respond to the statements spontaneously, do not think much about the statements and do not logically select the statements. Spontaneously, naturally select the statements. All right. So when you come across statement number 1 and 2, that is one pair, you can select only one of those two statements and so on. So that means at the end of this test, you can select a maximum of 40 statements, right? You cannot select both the statements in one pair. All right. And be very, very natural, spontaneous. Do not think much about the statements. Just go by your natural response and note down the serial number of the statements. At the end of it, we'll discuss your leadership, your communication style. Okay, so my screen is already shared with you. Let me share this with you. So we call this know your communication style. So is the screen visible to you? Please let me know.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So fine, I just talked about it, the instructions. So please select from each pair of statements the one which is most typical of your personality and make your choices as spontaneously as possible. And there is no negative scores, no wrong answers. Okay, fine. Are you ready with your pen and paper or pencil and
Yes.
paper? Shall we
Yes, sir.
start? Shall we start?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you. So the first 10 statements, 5 pairs. You can select only 5 statements, one from a pair. And be very natural and spontaneous while making a selection.
Done.
The slides automatically move. Now we are in statements 11 to 20. Statements 21 to 30.
Done, sir.
Yes, the next. The last 10 statements. Done?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Fine. Now we come to the end of this test. So take a breath. Okay. Right. So how did you find the statements? How did you find the statements? Did they baffle you? Did they challenge you?
No, sir. I think it is average statements. Normal.
All right. Right. Easy to understand, easy to follow, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So fine. Now we'll go to see your scores. Now it is scoring time. All you need to do, for example, I'll be showing you certain numbers. If you find the matching numbers in your notebooks, you can circle them. And then at the end of it, you can count the total. You do not have to add, just count the total. It can be 5, 7, 12, 14, but not more than 20.
So I think I could do only 37.
Okay, fine, no issues. I'll be sharing the details with you. You can take it afterwards. Not a problem at all. So you can take it afterwards. You can also share it with your students, your peers, your colleagues, and you can ask them to take the test as well. I'll be sharing all the details in a while. Okay, so not a problem. Fine, let me show you the scores now. Just a moment. Yeah. So fine, the maximum can be 20 per style. So I'm going to talk about 4 communication styles. Let's take out the style number 1. So you can match these numbers. If you have also identified these numbers or written these numbers on the notebooks or on that page, you can circle these numbers. Done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm moving to the next slide.
No, sir.
Okay, fine.
Sir, please go back.
Ten encircled, 20.
Yes?
10 circled.
No issues, fine. Don't think that if it's less or more, it will be interpreted in a certain way. No issues, we'll come to that. Fine, next. This is style number 2, and these are the numbers. Yes, through. Done?
Done.
Yes, sir. Sir, 1 minute.
Okay.
Done, sir.
All right,
Okay, sir, done, sir.
fine, thank you. I'm sorry, this is style 3.
Done.
All of you through?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Done?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So now you have, all right, well, you've already posted in the chat box your scores. You don't have to post, you can also keep them to yourselves. So let's now interpret the scores. Okay, so covered all, Dr. Chakravarti, 15, 6, 13, right, fine.
Sir, I would like to ask, we have to count all the circles from all the styles or only one style?
No, all the styles.
Okay.
For example, when I showed you the numbers under style 1, you can match the numbers that you have picked, and then you can count the total circles, the total number of circles, in fact. Okay. All right. Fine. Now let me go to the scores. All right. These are the 4 communication styles. If you have a high score in style 1, that is this, okay, high score in style 1. For example, you have picked scores in 4 styles. Okay, so one of you can respond. Dr. Chakravarti, what are the scores? What are your scores under these styles? Style 1, style 2, 3, and 4.
Style, I have written, sir, there. Second is 13, third is 15, fourth is 6, and 13, 15, 6, 13, 15, 6. And first was I have.
Is it 6?
Is it 6? 6, right.
Oh, yes, 6. Fine. So when it is
I think I'll fall in style 1.
style 1.
Majorly, sir.
Okay, style 1. Fine. It's up to you to decide on the basis of your scores. So if it is style 1, that means you have an action communication style. The what style? Action communication style. That means these are the things.
Result oriented.
You are? Are you?
Result oriented.
Are you result oriented?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So these are the things that people with action communication style generally talk about. They believe in these things. They believe in objectives, achieving, doing, result. As the name suggests, action. You always believe in action.
Yes, sir.
Then we come to style 2. That is the how style. It is called the process style. So these are the things that you generally communicate or believe in. So style 2 means people have a process communication style. So they generally communicate, talk about strategy, organization, fact, data, statistics, and those things. Style 3, who style. So those who have this style are generally people oriented. They have people communication styles. That means they are very good at interpersonal communication. So they believe in relationships, teamwork, communication. These are the things. And then we come to the 4th style, that is the why style, idea style. That means people who have this style, they believe more in concept, theory, innovation. So they generally they generally communicate in terms of concepts, theories, and innovation. Now to a detailed approach. Style 1, you generally people generally talk about these things. So if you come across somebody who talks about result, objective, experience, challenge, achievements, then you know that person has style 1, that is action communication style. That is the communication style of that person. So such people are very pragmatic, practical. They're direct, but impatient as well, because they just want to act. They believe in action, decisive, and they have a lot of energy. So if you have style 1, if you have scored highly in style 1, that means you have this action communication style. And then style 2, process communication style, you generally talk about procedure, planning, controlling, detail, testing, fact, statistics. These are the things. We believe in numbers. And then they're very systematic people, logical, factual, unemotional, because objective, very scientific and objective in nature. Style 3, people style, people communication style. So awareness, cooperation, teamwork, view, understanding, relationship. So these are the things they generally talk about. So if you come across somebody who talks about these things, then you know this person has a people communication style. So they're very spontaneous, empathetic, warm, subjective, emotional, perceptive, and sensitive as well. Style 4. So this style, that means people generally talk about new ways, new method, improving. Researchers generally talk about these things. Okay, creativity, what's new in the field. So they are researchers. They generally talk about what's new in the field. They are imaginative, creative, full of ideas, provocative, and so on and so forth. For your information, this test is based on the work of P. Case, Teaching for the Cross-Cultural Mind. You can go to Google search box and type these details. P. Case, Teaching for the Cross-Cultural Mind. Then you'll get all the details. And communication style. You can just add communication style. Then it will take you to the websites from where you can download these tests. All right. Now I'll take you back to the meeting mode. So most of you might have been able to discover your communication styles, and this test must have helped you. Was it so? Or there is a general disagreement? Did it help you discover your communication style? So most
Yes, to an extent, sir.
Okay, because most often it turns out to be quite accurate, and it is very, very indicative. It tells us that we have this communication style. Okay, now what's important here is once I discover my communication style, that's perfectly fine, that's natural. I need to work on the other communication styles so that I become a complete communicator. I need to, in order to be an academic leader, I need to be a complete communicator. Otherwise, it will lead to conflicts. For example, I have style 1 and Dr. Chakrabarti, Arindam Chakrabarti has a style 3. So there will always be a mismatch. There will always be a communication gap. Dr. Chakrabarti will talk about people, I'll talk about action. So there can not be any collaboration or cooperation between the two of us. So in order to avoid such a situation, such a conflict, I need to understand the other styles. I need to work on the other styles so that I can improve the other styles as well. So those styles can be acquired. That means if I have to communicate with somebody who believes in action, imagine the principal of your college, the vice chancellor or the deans of your university, they believe in action. You go to a dean who believes in action. That means that person always talks about action, results, and various other things that belong to the action style. That means you promptly know that if you have to deal with this person, you have to adopt the action-oriented style. You cannot say, I have idea style, so I'll take a lot of time thinking about it. The dean will say, I'll not give you any time. So I fire, I'll get somebody else. So it will always lead to conflicts. If I work on the other styles and try to improve my scores in the other styles as well, that's going to help me a lot. So that is the whole idea. In order to be an academic leader with a holistic communication approach or communication ability, it's important that we build an equal amount of competence in all these styles. apart from the natural style. It's our natural style, and we can acquire the other styles as well. So that is the reason why I wanted you to take the test. So I'm sure you probably enjoyed taking that test. Did you enjoy taking that test?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
So that is it. Now it is.
Sir, can we have a break of 10 minutes?
Of course. I was about to talk about it. Okay. So it is 5:30, almost 5:30 now. We can go on a break for 10 minutes. So we'll reassemble at 5:40, and we'll be talking about. I'll be walking you through the remaining part of this session. I'll be talking about the other aspects of academic leadership, governance, and management. So thank you for your participation in the first half of this session. We'll go on a break now. So you can still remain connected, and you can switch off or mute your mic and switch off your video, right? Okay.
Thank you, sir.
ঠিকই আছে আমাদের এসি কোথায় আমাদের এসি কে আমাদের
Shall we resume?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Well, that brings us to the other aspects of academic leadership. So what exactly do we mean by that when we think of academic leadership beyond these things? So, and what does it have to do with the turtle and the rabbit story that you all are familiar with? We all have grown up listening to that story. So, are you familiar with the turtle and the rabbit story?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, great. So what happens in that story? What happens in the end? What happens in the end of that story?
Sir, rabbit lost the race because of overconfidence.
Yes, the rabbit loses the race because he was overconfident and slack. And of course, that is a message. Slow and steady wins the race. So now if you have to, think about taking the story to new conclusions or different conclusions, can you do that? Can you think of different conclusions to the story? What can be some alternative conclusions to the story? Okay.
So rabbit should be vigilant and wise.
Okay, fine, great. True.
The tortoise may also be slack.
Why not? The turtle is slack as such, isn't it? But it's steady. All right. So I'm going to play a short video for you all. All right. So this video is on the story of the turtle and the rabbit. And you're right, Dr. Kaur, overconfidence is not good always. Fine. That's a good suggestion, Dr. Chakravarti, collaboration. Yes, very true. I'm going to play a video for you. Is there anyone who has watched this story? That means the revised version of the turtle and the rabbit story?
Yes, sir. Towards the
You
end,
watched?
yes, towards the end, they begin to collaborate with each other.
Okay, fine. We'll get to see that. Anyone else who has also watched it?
Yeah, work in collaboration.
Fine, great. So I'm going to play, I think most of the participants on board have not watched it. And assuming that, I'm playing that video again for you. So give me a few seconds so that I can play that video for you. So for that, I need to share my screen again. So I'm going to play this video for you. But initially, I'll just play briefly so that you can tell me whether the audio is going through or not. Is it visible to you, the screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now, please also confirm whether this audio is going through.
Yes, sir.
Once upon a time.
Are you getting the audio as well?
Yes, sir.
Yes, the sound check is clear.
All right, thank you so much. I'm playing it from the beginning now. Please take a look at this video.
Once upon a time, a turtle and a rabbit had an argument about who was faster. They decided to settle the argument with a race. The turtle and the rabbit both agreed on a route and started off the race. The rabbit shot ahead and ran briskly for some time. Then, seeing he was far ahead of the turtle, he thought he'd sit under a tree for some time and relax before continuing the race. He sat under the tree and soon fell asleep. The turtle, plodding on, overtook him and soon finished the race. Emerging as the undisputed champ, the rabbit woke up and realized that he'd lost the race. The moral of the story is that slow and steady wins the race. This is the version of the story that we've all grown up with. But our version of the story continues. The rabbit was disappointed at losing the race, and he did some thinking. He realized that he'd lost the race only because he had been overconfident, careless, and lax. If he had not taken things for granted, there's no way the turtle could have beaten him. So, he challenged the turtle to another race. The turtle agreed. This time, the rabbit went all out and ran without stopping from start to finish. He won by several miles. The moral of the story? Fast and consistent will always beat the slow and steady. It's good to be slow and steady, but it's better to be fast and reliable. But the story doesn't end here. The turtle did some thinking this time and realized that there's no way he can beat the rabbit in a race the way it was currently formatted. He thought for a while and then challenged the rabbit to another race, but on a slightly different route. The rabbit agreed. The turtle and rabbit started off. In keeping with his self-made commitment to be consistently fast, the rabbit took off and ran at top speed until he came to a broad river. The finishing line was a couple of kilometers on the other side of the river. The rabbit sat there, wondering what to do. In the meantime, the turtle trundled along, got into the river, swam to the opposite bank, continued walking, and finished the race. The moral of the story? First, identify your core competency, and then change the playing field to suit your core competency. The story still hasn't ended. The turtle and rabbit by this time had become pretty good friends, and they did some thinking together. Both realized that the last race could have been run much better. So, the turtle and rabbit decided to do the last race again, but to run as a team this time. They started off, and this time the rabbit carried the turtle till the riverbank. There, the turtle took over and swam across with the rabbit on his back. On the opposite bank, the rabbit again carried the turtle, and they reached the finishing line together. Both the turtle and rabbit felt a greater sense of satisfaction than they'd felt earlier. The moral of the story? It's good to be individually brilliant and to have strong core competencies. But unless you're able to work in a team and harness each other's core competencies, you'll always perform below par, because there will always be situations at which you'll do poorly and someone else does well. Teamwork is mainly about situational leadership, letting the person with the relevant core competency for a situation take leadership. And that is the end of the story.
Sir, very, very thought-provoking.
Okay. All right, you liked.
Sir, teamwork really matters.
Right. So, fine. Now, what do you think about the turtle and the rabbit story, isn't it? So it's quite different now. So it's not about either being slow or being fast. It's much more about being steady, being consistent, and being collaborative and cooperative. And at the same time, trying to understand that we have different abilities for different situations. And that's the reason, in order to be a good leader, a good academic leader, it's important that I first acknowledge the differences that we have. We all are different people, therefore we have different fingerprints. And the first thing that we need to acknowledge is that. And that is how it can be done. Give me just a few seconds. I'll be sharing my screen again with you. And we'll go to the next segment. I think it's visible to you now. So academic leadership is also a lot about situational leadership. It is about identifying the core competencies. It is about not just identifying, but about building, enhancing those core competencies. So this is one big reason why we generally attend faculty development programs. When we say faculty development, what kind of development? Most often that turns out to be financial development, because that will give you some promotion. But at the same time, of course, that's a fact. There is no denying it. But at the same time, it also leads to personal development. And until and unless that personal development happens, we cannot call it faculty development programs. Or when we go to attend short-term courses, it is designed in a way so as to add something important to our development plan. So academic leadership is all about continuous growth. And then it involves acknowledgement, appreciation, mentoring, and collaboration. So yes, I want you to take a look at these things. What exactly is academic leadership profile? So do we have our own academic leadership profile? That is the first question we need to start with whenever we think of exploring academic leadership. So how do we create an academic leadership profile? The first thing that I need to talk about or take care of is my academic capacity. As an academic, I need to build a sound academic capacity. So how do I do that? I can do so by building a sound research credibility and reputation, community services, that means outreach, resource acquisition, and institutional reputation enhancement. So these things will enhance my academic capacity. So there is credibility. If I am conducting research, I must do it in a way so as to improve my reputation and my credibility. So the academic capacity, that means if I have to teach the same course the next semester, I'll be teaching that course in a different way. So that means I'll be improving my teaching abilities. I'll be improving my understanding abilities. So how I teach that course, if I teach the same course in the same way over a period of 5 years or 10 years, I'm not building my academic capacity. So therefore, it's important that I think about it. The second important thing that I can think of while building my academic leadership profile is my leadership capacity. I need to build my capacity for academic leadership. So what is that and how do I do it? Academic leadership capacity. So leadership competencies. Leadership is not about holding a position and exerting power, enjoying power and privileges. It is more about identifying the team and building the team and sustaining the team. So the message that we get from this video about the turtle and the rabbit is that no one person can claim to have all those abilities to meet the demands of a situation. So I can never claim that I can meet the demands of every situation. There will be situations where I need the support of somebody, I need the specialization, I need the skills of somebody else. And that somebody else can handle the situation better than I can. So I need to build, I need to develop that power to identify this, to build a team. And then I must have good management skills. Building a team is always easy, but managing that team and sustaining the team is not that easy. So I need to add some good management skills. What do we mean by those management skills? For example, influencing, and then persuading. These are some of those management skills, change management skills. How do I deal with change? Because change is imminent and nobody can stop change from happening. So if I have good management, I'll be talking about management skills after a while. So if I have good management skills, that means I can build a good team and sustain it. Team management. How do I manage a team? Because when we bring team members, there's always a chance that it will lead to conflict. It will lead to disagreement, differences. So how do I manage that team? How do I pick each of the team members cautiously and carefully? And then culture-related skills. We all know that we live in the era of multiculturalism, where people from multiple cultures come together and work. And we need to understand that. For example, we are now interacting with each other. How many different cultures we all have come from? So we need to understand, we need to build the sensibility to understand the nuances of all these cultures. Otherwise, I'll end up, embarrassing or humiliating people from a certain culture. So culture-related skills are also very, very important. And then we come to leadership styles and behavior. I just talked about leadership styles. You can add those styles. I must tell you that none of these lists is exhaustive in nature. They're just indicative in nature. So you can think of adding those communication styles or leadership styles to these styles as well. When it comes to leadership these days, there is something called 360-degree leadership. You can explore more about it after today's session. The 360-degree leadership. That means you don't have to hold a position to be a leader. You can be a leader from anywhere in an organization through your contribution, through your work. So that is what we mean by 360-degree leadership. And then finally, personal and interpersonal capacities, because leadership is all about building sound personal and interpersonal capacities, like influencing, communication skill, conflict resolution, self-regulation, empathizing, and commitment and decisiveness. So when we take care of... Yes.
Sir, can you explain 360-degree leadership in a more clear way?
Right. For example, you're not holding any position. You're just a faculty member. Okay. So imagine in what way you can enhance the reputation of your organization. All right. So when you hold a position, the responsibilities will be higher and more. But when you're not holding a position, the responsibilities will be lower. But it's always a good idea to think that you still have a greater responsibility. Any regular faculty member in an organization can think of enhancing the reputation of that institution or that organization. In what ways? See, for example, through your outreach activities, when you go to meet people in training programs, you can share your interests with those people. And then people will gradually discover you, because this is the era of discovery. If we are not discoverable, then people will not know us. So we need to improve what we generally say visibility. visibility. How do you become visible? I'll tell you, if you allow me. I shouldn't tell stories about myself, but then, yes, I shouldn't tell stories about myself. But if you allow, I can tell you a story about myself. Would you?
Definitely, sir.
Okay, thank you. I joined this IIT in 2018, so it's not been very long since I joined this IIT. It's been 6 years only. Prior to joining this IIT, I had already worked at a different organization for almost 15 years. So I had already earned my reputation. I had already built a special place for myself in that organization. People knew me, not just in that organization, and outside the organization as well. People knew me. I used to conduct, training programs, and a lot of them, in fact. I used to conduct corporate training programs as well.
So you mean to say you worked in an MNC?
Not MNC. I was working in an academic organization.
Okay.
But when I came here, I was completely new. I was a stranger. No one knew me. All right. And then after joining this institute, I gave it a serious thought. How am I going to build my visibility here? How are people going to discover me here? So what I did, the Teaching Learning Center that is currently organizing this program, this sensitization program, I went to the Teaching Learning Center. I met the coordinator of the Teaching Learning Center, the then coordinator. And I told the professor that I've been doing all these things. I can be an asset to this center. Then the professor said, fine, that's great. So he asked me to conduct a training program. So it was a 3-day training program for research scholars. So we did it for research scholars, research writing for research scholars. So it was a big hit. It was hugely successful. Then he asked me to conduct another training program. And that's how I conducted almost 15 training programs in the next 1.5 years. That means precisely or roughly one training program a month. All right. And thereafter, I started interacting with people from various places. And today I'm the co-coordinator of this center. All right. So I've been given the half responsibility of this center. So I'm in a way coordinating this center today.
That's a great achievement, sir.
Despite not holding any position. So you can do that. You can actually produce great research articles. You can get them published. You can deliver talks. So whenever we do things, we are actually doing it not just for ourselves, for the organization that we work in. So this is how you can think of 360-degree leadership. You don't have to hold a position. You can still be important. Yes.
Some contribution is required.
Exactly. So we can do that. Nobody can stop us from doing that. So I go to several places to conduct training programs and workshops. So we can do that. So that is it. I have a raised hand, Dr. Roy, Pushpendu Roy. Do you have a question? Okay, fine. Might be mistakenly. Right. So that is it. That is exactly what we mean by 360-degree leadership. You can be anywhere in an organization, but you can still exert some influence on the organization. People will gradually discover you, and greater responsibilities will come to you automatically. So that's exactly what we mean by 360-degree leadership. So you can read that interesting book by John Maxwell, who actually talked about 360-degree leadership. So it was his idea, John Maxwell's 360-degree leadership. So of course, very rightly said, Dr. Joshi, it is willingness quotient. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to walk that extra mile? Are you willing to contribute to the overall growth of yourself and your organization. So this is all about it. So outreach activities help you a lot, right? So the next thing. So that's exactly what we mean by 360-degree leadership. So when it comes to personal and interpersonal capacities, you can think of self-regulation, empathy and emotional intelligence, commitment, decisiveness. When we bring all these things together, we are actually building our academic leadership profile. It is very, very important. The way we all build our teaching profile, our research profile, our outreach profile, when we bring them all together, when we combine them, we actually build our academic leadership profile. So the next thing, how do we do it? So I generally call it PDP. When I say PDP, I'm not pointing towards a political party in Kashmir. PDP. Now, what is PDP? PDP is Personal Development Program. We oftentimes hear about FDP, Faculty Development Program. So we can also think about Personal Development Program. That means what things I planning to do in order to, contribute to my personal development. If I continue to be at the same place I was 5 years back, that means I'm not growing. So which is an alarming signal. I'm not growing. So growth is imminent, and it is something that we all need to add to ourselves. So in order to ensure growth, we need to design a personal development program. And how do we do that? So the first, I've already talked about both the things, if you remember. I said SWOT analysis. So we also call it the self-awareness program, SAP. In UGC, SAP means something else. It is a special assistance program. But when it comes to leadership, SAP means something else. It is self-awareness program or personal development program. We can do so through SWOT analysis, my strengths, my weaknesses, my opportunities, my challenges. When I talked about my story here, there's my TLC story. I actually worked on my strengths. I said, these are my strengths. If I can take my strengths to somebody, that person will give me an opportunity. And that actually happened. So whenever we analyze, we can analyze our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our challenges, because we create opportunities for ourselves. And there are, of course, challenges. Organizing a program is not an easy thing. Most of you might have organized programs, and you know the challenges involved in them. So that's not a problem at all. So you can think of those challenges, but we also need to think of the opportunities that lie beyond those challenges. At the same time, I also gave you this communication style test to help you discover your communication style. Now, whether it's action, process, people, or idea communication style. So this is one. And the second is this. If any one of you has a background in psychology, you can easily identify with this. Do you have a background in psychology? Anyone? Anyone with a background in psychology? No issues. I mean, if you do not have a background in psychology, you can still identify with it. The Enneagram, Rizzo, Hudson type names. What are you? How do you describe yourself? So this is basically intrapersonal communication. And we all need to embark on this journey, the intrapersonal communication journey. How do you describe yourself? Are you a reformer, helper, achiever, individualist, the investigator, the loyalist, the enthusiast, and the challenger, or the peacemaker? What are you? Or you can adopt multiple roles, all 9. Nobody can stop you from adopting all those 9 roles. But then we need to identify what exactly I am. So take a look at these roles. So if I'm a reformer, I'm principled, purposeful, self-controlled, and perfectionist. Helper, caring, generous. There are some people who are very, very caring naturally. Care comes to them naturally. Okay. And then achiever, they are quite adaptable, self-developing, and then they're quite ambitious as well, and very image conscious. Individualistic, that means they are very, very expressive, individualistic, temperamental, expressive, intuitive. Investigator, very perceptive. A researcher has to be an investigator, otherwise you cannot conduct research. Loyalist, enthusiast, challenger, peacemakers. Peacemakers are those people who believe in peace. They're calm, agreeable, complacent. They don't like tension and conflict. You come across such people in life. We do. We do come across challengers who are very, very self-confident. They're not afraid of taking risks. And they always go that extra mile. They look beyond the horizon, the challengers. So what kind of role you are identifying for yourself? It can be multiple roles as well. But we need to identify a role for ourselves because it will help us understand ourselves better. And then the first thing is communication. It has to be clear, explaining, comforting, and empathic. So these are the hallmarks of communication. When I say that I'm talking about communication 2.0, I'm not talking about communication 1.0 that taught us that communication happens when a message is encoded and it is sent through a channel and it is received and decoded by the receiver. Communication is complete. But communication is much more than just that. It's not about sending or receiving a message. It's much more than that. It has to be very, very clear. It has to be explaining. It has to be comforting. So when I communicate with people, if they feel uncomfortable, it is not communication at all. When I communicate with people, if I do not try to understand their perspective, their understanding, their thought process, then it is not communication at all. So it has to be very clear. It has to be explaining. That means I must give all kind of support to somebody so that person can understand what I'm trying to say. I must comfort through communication, and I must be empathic while communicating. The second, because you all identified these important qualities in an academic leader, I'm talking about those. Motivation, you also identified. Motivation means mentoring. So when it comes to mentoring, have you mentored people? Because when we, advise the research scholars, the young researchers, we are actually mentoring them in some way or the other. So there's a great example of mentoring which we can learn from an everyday life experience. And it actually involves, most often it involves the fathers. Imagine your child is learning to ride a bicycle. And I mean a bigger one, the bigger bicycle. Now I'm not talking the smaller ones. The child is learning to buy a bicycle. Now you can imagine that scene. It's a scene that has a bicycle, the child, and the father. The child is very, very scared of sitting on the seat of the bicycle and start pedaling. And there's this father who continuously tells the child that, don't worry, I'm very much here. Now the child says, okay, hold the bicycle from behind the carrier. And now I'll sit. Fine. That is exactly what the father does. And then the child sits on the seat of the bicycle, holds the handle, and then the father says, now you can pedal. And the child continuously says, don't leave. Don't leave, I'll fall. And the father continuously says, I'm not leaving. Don't worry, I'm very much here. I'm holding the bicycle from behind. Don't worry, just pedal and move. And that goes on. for some time. And thereafter, the child actually begins to pedal the bicycle. And then the bicycle moves or rolls forward. After a while, the child doesn't even realize that the father has taken off his hands of the bicycle carrier. But the child continues to believe that the father is still holding the bicycle from behind. All right? That's what we mean by mentoring or mentorship. Mentorship is all about giving a sense of assurance to the other person that you are there, despite not being there. And helping that person do it independently. Instead of, just imagine if the father continuously holds the carrier of the bicycle, the child will never learn how to ride a bicycle independently. So this is what we exactly mean by mentoring. Okay, because when we mentor, we need to help others become independent. So, or be able to do it independently. Otherwise, we're not mentoring, we're actually creating more and more followers. So, mentoring is very, very important. And then rewarding. We know the power of rewarding. So, just giving this, and how often we wait for this particular signal whenever we post something on our social media account. So, how often we wait for this, and every time we receive this signal, we feel very happy. Yes, that's true. There is something that is called recognition hunger. We have heard about a lot of hunger types. So this is called a recognition hunger. And each one of us has this hunger, this recognition hunger. We all want recognition. Whenever we do something great, something big, we want to receive this, or claps, or this, okay, or keep it up, pat on the back. So these are the rewards that will actually help, actually motivate people. And then supporting. So if we can extend that support to others, if we can make them believe that, fine, whenever something goes wrong, you have my support. So that works like magic. The third important academic leadership quality is delegating. I played that video for you. Delegating is all about situational leadership. Situational leadership, because whenever there is a situation that requires that the other person must be given the leading role, fine, we can do it. So it involves trust and training. If I have to, help somebody, or if I want to delegate my responsibilities to somebody, I must have that trust first. And how do I have that trust? When I know that that person can do it properly, fine. Are you going to sit inside a cab of a driver who doesn't know how to drive a car? Are you going to take that risk? Yes. What is your take on that? Are you going to sit in a cab? No, most of us will say, because we love ourselves very much, we won't do that because we don't trust. Are we going to give a responsibility to somebody whom we do not trust? Never. That doesn't happen. No one, you'll never come across any person who will say, I don't trust this person, but I'm still giving him that responsibility. No. We must first build trust, and thereafter we delegate the responsibility. But imagine, trust is a relational. For example, I want to give a certain responsibility to somebody, but I know that that person is not capable of doing it. Then what am I doing to improve the capability of that person? Training. I must first train that person. Fine. Now you can do it. That's exactly what we do with our research scholars. We first train them, learn how to write, learn how to create how to formulate a thesis or a problem statement. Learn.
So try to upskill them.
Yes, exactly.
And if required, sir, we try to reskill them.
Of course. It is upskilling. We upskill them as well with time. So and then we build that trust. Now we can trust. Okay, fine. You can do it. independently now. So that's exactly what we mean by mentorship or delegating. Then positivity. We all know the power of positivity. Rapport, respect, help, and care. All these things matter. So people cannot ignore the power of respect or help or care. They may do so temporarily, but ultimately they will respect. They will acknowledge the power of positivity. The next is trustworthiness. One of the most important leadership qualities. I must build an ecosystem of trust, an environment of trust. And then I must be accountable as well. It's not that I'm the head of the department, therefore I don't do anything wrong. You are just a member, faculty member, therefore you always commit errors. No, everyone is accountable. And then when I go wrong, there's nothing wrong in apologizing or saying sorry to somebody. Reliability, integrity, credibility, these are the things that will gradually come when we build an environment of trust. For example, when you write research papers and when you send them to journals for publication, and then when you get published, and when people read your work, they're actually contributing to all these things, are contributing to your credibility. Just imagine you publish a paper and somebody reports plagiarism in that paper. You're going to lose your credibility and integrity, and people are not going to rely on you. So it's very, very important that we build that trustworthiness. And then creativity. This is very, very important because we live in a VUCA world. Are you familiar with this terminology, VUCA? VUCA. Anybody with some background in management or economics? Are you familiar with VUCA?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, what is that?
Sir, it stands for volatility,
Yes, yes, right.
uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity.
Ambiguities, right. So this is a VUCA world. This is very volatile. You know, one fine day you suddenly hear that there is a deadly virus called COVID-19 that has hit. And the world suddenly changed, and so abruptly changed. And nobody was prepared, not even the most developed nations. They were not prepared for that onslaught. So nobody was prepared. But after some time, we learned how to do it. You know, we suddenly had to switch to the online teaching learning method, but we did it. So we live in the VUCA world. And in the VUCA world, if anything is going to help us navigate the challenges, it's our imagination, our innovative power or innovation. How well we can innovate, how well we can imagine, how well we can be curious about things. Oh, fine, if this is not working, let's go and try that particular thing. If I'm curious about multiple possibilities, I'll find one. If I'm imaginative about the multiple resolutions, I'll find one. And I can always innovate and then do something. And that is exactly how the humanities survived COVID-19. Okay, and then flexibility, which includes qualities like adaptability. And since long, we have known that only the fittest survive. So who are the fittest? The fittest are those who are adaptable, who can improvise, who can be flexible enough to accommodate or adapt to any situation or any problems, any crisis. Continuous learning, and this is the reason why just to be relevant, just to be valid, we go for continuous learning in the form of FDPs, short-term courses, short-term training programs, CBPs like capacity building programs, workshops, and a variety of similar things, so that we continuously learn and remain valid and important. Otherwise, we'll lose our importance. So if we cannot adapt, just imagine those people who could not adapt to online teaching, those faculty members, they found it very difficult. They had a very tough time. All right, but those people who easily adapted to those challenges, they were happy. They were not disturbed at all. For example, we are already doing that here. This online sessions we were conducting. We're doing this flip classroom thing here. So it was not at all a challenge. So it was, in fact, for a change, it was a pleasurable thing. So we easily did that. So there was no problem at all. So that is it. I'll come to this question towards the end of this session. Can you please tell some more apps for research scholars, please? All right. Do you want me to tell you or talk about an app that will write the thesis as well? Okay, fine. I'll come to that towards the end of this session. Fine. Flexibility is, again, a very important thing. And then the self-development or the personal development program. What are the things? Growth mindset or versus fixed mindset? So with a fixed mindset, I will be rendered invalid after some time, because I'll avoid challenges. I'll avoid embracing new experiences. I'll not welcome new experiences. But with a growth mindset, I'll always do so, because I'll always be open to changes. So with a growth mindset, we can we can be valid for a long time. Entrepreneurial mindset. These days, you must be hearing a lot about entrepreneurship, startups. Do you? Shark Tank India, Shark Tank US, isn't it? We hear a lot about entrepreneurship, right? So are you aware of entrepreneurship? Are you? Startups, entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So can you think of the biggest quality an entrepreneur has?
Taking risks.
Yes. Taking risks and not being afraid of. Can you complete this? Not being afraid of.
Failures.
Yes, exactly. Failures.
So decision maker?
Of course, I mean, you need to have good decision-making abilities if you can take risks. Entrepreneurs are not afraid of failures. That is the biggest quality an entrepreneur must have. If an entrepreneur doesn't have this quality, that person is not at all an entrepreneur. Because startups always run the risk of failure. And they're not moved by, they're not disturbed by failure. They are still ready to take those risks. This is the biggest leadership quality we can get from the entrepreneurs. And that's the reason why it is called the entrepreneurial mindset. We are ready for all possible outcomes. It can be success, it can be failure. I must tell you that we live in a culture that doesn't acknowledge or appreciate failures. Am I right? Do we clap for failures? We don't. Do we acknowledge or appreciate failures? No. There was a time when the world of research also didn't like failures. But now failures are acknowledged and they are treated to be as important as success stories. And that's the reason why we have journals like this. Have you heard about a Journal of Negative Results? Have you heard about a Journal of Negative Results? Anyone? Please let me know. Okay. You can go to Google and search for Journal of Negative Results. That means this journal reports failures only. Why? Because it's a fact that we learn more from failures than success. That's the reason why these journals, there are a lot of such journals, they report failed experiments, failed research, negative results, so that others learn from them. And that's the reason why such journals are very, very popular. They're very important. Now, okay. So it's important that we learn how to deal with failure as well, not just success. It's easy to handle success. It's difficult to manage failures, but we can do so with an entrepreneurial mindset.
So it
Stress
is useful for young scholars.
Of course, for every one of us. Stress management. We all know the workplace is a place of stress. It gives us a lot of stress. There's no doubt about it. So we can overcome stress related issues through mindfulness, meditation, or activities. And we can also leave that perfection fixation. Sometimes people become so fixed with perfection. No. Until and unless it happens, I will not do it. And most often that moment doesn't arise. So we just wait for it, and it turns out to be a mirage. So we have to leave perfection fixation. If it's good enough, fine. It may not be perfect, but if it's good enough, it's always a good idea to go ahead with it. So the next thing is resilience. Resilience means the ability to stand back on one's own feet after taking a drubbing or failure.
So it can be said as endurance?
Yes.
So it can be said as endurance?
Of course, endurance. Of course. Endurance. That means if you can remain calm in the face of disaster. Resilience. Fine, it's okay. It didn't happen, but next time I'll do it. No problem. So resilience. If I do not build resilience in myself, there will be several challenges that will destroy me. So resilience is very, very important. And then reinventing. HP, Hewlett-Packard, the brand has this tagline, reinvent. So reinventing is very, very important. How else can I, rediscover or reinvent myself? I remember a wonderful statement issued by a professor at NEP Mumbai. There's this national institute, NEP Mumbai. So the professor once said, he generally asked this question to his students.
So now it is IIM Mumbai.
Yes, IIM Mumbai, of course. So, imagine suddenly you lose your regular source of income. Fine. How else can you earn money from the next day? Okay. So how else can I reinvent myself to be valid or to be valuable in a different situation or for a different challenge or situation? Now, this is very, very important. If I can reinvent myself, most often we, enter the comfort zone and we do not want to reinvent ourselves. We do not want to experiment with ourselves because it's always good to be in the comfort zone. But then the moment I think of reinventing myself, I get better opportunities. Okay. So, for example, I can tell you about myself. There was a time when I never thought that I would be getting into training. I never thought, but I thoroughly enjoy it today. All right. and I could reinvent myself. So we all have something else in ourselves. We need to discover that, and we can reinvent ourselves through that discovery. So this is how we can ensure our self-development. And then that brings us to this EQ, emotional quotient, emotional intelligence, as you can see on your screen. So on this side of your screen, you can see those qualities of low emotional intelligence. And on the right, you can see high emotional intelligence markers. These are the markers of high emotional intelligence. If you have patience, that means you have high emotional intelligence. If you're careful, fine, high emotional intelligence. If I'm very, very critical, fussy, very hard to please, perfectionist, that means I have that perfection fixation. I am low on emotional intelligence. So we need to understand our emotional intelligence levels. Now that brings us to governance and management. I have combined these two areas for the sake of convenience because they're so closely allied with each other. Take a look at it. Are you familiar with this? I'm okay, you're okay. Are you okay with this? Have you heard about it? I'm okay, you're okay. Yes?
No, sir.
All right. These are called life positions. I'll take you back to that. These are called life positions. Life positions. That means we adopt various life positions in our lives. Similarly, other people also adopt various life positions. So let's start with these life positions. Let's start with the first life position. Okay. So the first life position is this. I am okay, you are not okay. It is called the one-up position. I am okay, you are not okay. That means there are people who think they know everything, they are superior to others, and others are good for nothing. They are very inferior, they know nothing. All right. These are the people who will never allow others to grow or do well in life. We come across such people in life. There are a lot of such people who will not help others or grow because they always want to feel and say that I'm okay, you're not okay. Right? So these are the people. This is life position. It's a very dangerous life position. When people, humiliate others, embarrass others. Imagine a teacher calling a student gadha frequently or continuously in a classroom. So I'm okay, you're not okay. You first give a task to somebody, then say, no, you can never do it. Fine, forget. That means you're not giving an opportunity to that person. So it is, I am okay, you are not okay. The second life position is, I am not okay, you are okay. You also find such people in life who say, look at that person is doing this thing so well. How many publications that person has? Look at the projects, research scholars. Look at myself. I'm a good for nothing person. I'm hopeless, I'm useless. So these people generally blame themselves. They always suffer from this inferiority complex. Yes, Dr. Chakravarti, you're right. Thomas Harris and his famous book, I'm okay, you're okay, which is based on Eric Berne's transactional analysis theory. So, and the third life position, I'm not okay, you're not okay. It's a hopeless situation. These people are very, very pessimistic. They don't find anything good in life. Very pessimistic. They will also make pessimism contagious. they'll spread pessimism all across. There's no good in life. So everything is in a very bad shape. Everything is chaotic. Everything will be destroyed. I'm not okay. You're not okay. So these are the people who believe in creating a community of those people, a community of losers. And the fourth life position, which is the healthiest life position, I'm okay, you're okay. So when it comes to governance and management through academic leadership, for example, how do we govern? How do we manage our students, our classroom situations, our peers? If I know something, I can pass it on to others. I can transfer. And that's the reason why most skills are transferable skills, because those skills can be transferred to others. So if I believe in I'm okay, you're okay, governance or management model, I will definitely help others grow. And that's the reason why it's very rightly said that a true leader creates more leaders and a bad leader creates followers. So the whole idea is to help somebody. Okay, fine, you do not know how to deliver a presentation. Fine, I'll help. No issues, it's okay. Without judging somebody, when I say that, that leads to rapport, respect, understanding, credibility, integrity. That leads to true academic leadership. And that's the reason why outreach activities are such an important component in the evaluation of both faculty members and institutions. Outreach activities. All right. So do you help the society? Do you help those people who are unprivileged or underprivileged? So that is the best life position. You can now take a look at the 4 life positions. All right, I'm okay, you're not okay. I'm not okay, you're okay. I'm not okay, you're not okay. And the final one is this one.
So that's the personal choice.
Of course, of course. This is the healthy life position. So when it comes to academic leadership, we need to adopt this life position. I'm okay, you're okay. All right. So when you look at, on a lighter note, I can tell you when you walk into any university or any college, you'll find that the toppers, they generally hide their notes. They don't share their notes with others because they are very afraid that if others get hold of those notes, they will also score good marks and the toppers may lose their top positions. Okay. So how often people hide their notes under the mattresses and then everywhere? You know this. Okay. So that's not a good practice. If I know something, I must want others to know it. So I can share my knowledge with others. This is exactly what academic leadership is all about. You'll not find a teacher who would like to hide his or her knowledge. No. I'll not share this knowledge with my students. If I share my knowledge with my students, they will be as good as I am. Teachers don't think about that. Or true academic leaders do not think about these issues. They just go on transferring skills to the students. So that's what we mean by this line position. Then leadership, you can look at this one. I was talking with John Maxwell. John Maxwell is the person who actually talked about 360-degree leadership. John, in fact, he has written a book with that title, 360-degree leader. So according to Maxwell, leadership is influence. When I say influence, I'm not talking about social media influencing. It's different from that kind of influencing. It is influence. Influence means we can convince people, we can persuade them. Through our actions, through our thoughts, we can influence people to do things. So influencing is both soft or personal power, which is independent of one's positional power. For example, I am the head of the department. And if I ask you to do something for me, And if I influence you to do something for me, I'm using my positional power. I'm the head of the department, the dean, the director, the vice chancellor. I'm using my positional power to influence you. That is not true influencing. True influencing is about using your personal power to influence. You build your credibility in such a way that when you say something, people will agree to it. They'll say, okay, I'll do it for you. Fine.
Sir, that is what the politicians are using on subordinates.
Of course.
Sir, don't you? You agree or differ from it?
So when we, use our positional power to influence, right? That is not influencing. That is not leadership. Okay. Leadership is all about using one's personal power to influence. Personal power means you have that credibility. When you say something, people take you seriously, they listen to you. When Martin Luther King Jr. talked to all the blacks in the United States, you can watch that famous speech. It is available on YouTube. I have a dream. He was using his personal power, personal position to influence an entire generation of the blacks in America. So that is the power. All right. So, that is what we mean by influencing. I'll show you an example of that influencing. All right. When it comes to influencing tactics, these three things play a very important role. Set one of tactics are called head tactics. Head tactics means we are using our intellectual power to influence others. For example, how do I convince somebody? If I tell you that these are the facts, these are the figures, you're going to trust, you're going to believe, you're going to agree. So I'm using the head tactics. That means intellectual way. I'm providing facts and figures. So, sir, please invest on this mutual fund. Why should I invest on your mutual fund? Oh, look at the past returns. The last 5 years, these are the returns. Look at the facts and figures. The moment you say, oh my goodness, 22% return, great. Okay, I'm going to invest. Because you have been influenced intellectually. The head tactics. The second heart tactics, emotional influencing. And you know how well children are at that emotional influencing. They generally emotionally influence their mothers. They say, you don't love me and you're not my mother. If you are my mother, then you should love me, do things for me. So emotionally influencing others. Those of you who have a background in literature, anyone with a background in English literature? Anyone? No one? Okay, fine. So if you have gone through Julius Caesar by Shakespeare, there's a scene after Julius Caesar was killed by the Senate, led by Brutus. Mark Antony addressed the Romans, okay, and he was emotionally influencing them. He, in fact, succeeded in emotionally influencing the Romans. So emotional influencing is all about exerting your emotional power to convince or persuade somebody. Then the third, the hands. The hands are called cooperative influencing tactics. We all need to discover the power of the hands. These hands can perform miracles. And that is probably one reason why Gabbar Singh told Thakur, "Ye haath mujhe de de Thakur." Okay, so because Gabbar Singh knew the hands are very, very powerful. Of course, these hands are very, very powerful. You shake hands, say namaste, or you greet people using these hands, and we know the power of greeting. And then you give a pat using your hands. You wave this you do this. So hands are very, very powerful. So hands symbolize cooperative influencing. That means when we use cooperative influencing, we generally extend support, assistance, help to people, so that we can do something collectively in a collaborative manner. So the hands also play a major role in influencing. Now take a look at this table. These are the 9 influencing tactics. Look at the hard tactics, and at the top you'll be surprised to see request. Is that a hard tactic? Because most
Are you sharing the screen?
Yes. Is it not shared with you?
It is not visible, sir.
Okay, that way, give me just 1 second. I will be sharing it again. Is it visible to you now?
Now it is visible, sir.
Okay, fine. So I can quickly take you back, and then these are the things I talked about. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Self-development, and then I talked about emotional intelligence, and then governance and management. I'm okay, you're okay, right?
Yes, sir.
These are the like positions I talked about. Then I talked about influencing, and these are the influencing tactics: the head, the heart, the hands. Okay.
Sir, can you throw some light on soft skills?
Of course.
It is also very, sir, important.
Yeah, of course, soft skills. So influencing is in fact a soft skill. It's a very important soft skill. Okay, influencing. So when it comes to influencing, you don't have to frighten or scare somebody to be convinced, to be persuaded. These are the things that we can do, because influencing is one of the most powerful soft skills. Okay, so using our head, we can influence others. By influencing, I mean persuading, convincing somebody. So logical influencing, emotional influencing, and cooperative influencing. Logical influencing, head tactics. That means you're influencing somebody intellectually. So you're telling somebody, I just talked about it, I say that a mutual fund company personnel comes to meet you and says, sir, buy our mutual funds. They give you very good returns. You say, how do I know they give very good returns? How do you prove? Then he simply says, look at the 5 years return. It stands at 22%. So you are convinced. Of course, 22 is a big return. Fine, I'll invest. Okay. So the heart influencing tactics, for example, when people come and tell you, those companies who sell health insurance, they generally say, just imagine if anything happens to you, what will happen to your family? If anything happens to you, you're hospitalized, your lifetime savings will go. So they emotionally influence people. Or if you can emotionally influence others, like Martin Luther King did, you can. So while using emotional influencing tactics, people generally target attitudes, values, ideals, and beliefs of people. So that is how people are emotionally influenced. And then finally, the hands. That is cooperative influencing tactics. All these are soft skills, in fact. Influencing is a very powerful soft skill. Persuading and influencing are soft skills. Communication, soft skill. I talked about communication. I also, made you discover your communication style. So there's 9 influencing tactics. Most often we think request is not a hard tactic, but it is. If it comes from top, imagine the vice chancellor writing a letter or an email to all faculty members in a university, and then using the word request. Do you think it is a request? It is an order under the guise of request. Similarly, legitimate.
Because all faculty member has to comply with the decision of vice chancellor.
Exactly. Therefore, it is not a request. But the email will definitely carry the word request. All faculty members are requested. For example, as head of the department, if I have to issue a notice for a meeting, I generally write, all faculty members are requested to attend the meeting at this and this. So do you think it's a request? It is an order, but I use the word request. So it is a hard tactic. It is not a request.
So it is generally, it can be said that it is a courteous way to call someone.
No. It's a hard tactic. When it comes from top, it is a hard tactic of influencing. When it comes from bottom, it's actually a request. So if you're a faculty member, when you write to the head of the department for leave, that is a request. When it comes from the head of the department, it is not generally a request, it's a hard tactic. So request is generally a hard tactic. Okay. And then legitimating. Legitimating, just imagine, you join a college, it is day one, you meet the principal and the principal says, okay, you go and meet the head of the department, he or she will explain your job responsibilities to you. When you go to meet the head of the department, if the head of the department says, see, in this department, we value punctuality, right? You get your message. That means you have to be very, very punctual. So this is legitimating. That means they have a practice which they are legitimizing. So this is legitimating. This is a very hard tactic. There's no need to tell you that, okay, always be in time. They don't have to. They say that everybody in this office, they observe punctuality. So what is the message? You also observe punctuality. So this is the second hard tactic. The third hard tactic is coalition. Coalition means, imagine there is a committee that is comprised of 10 members. And the committee recently met and it discussed something. The very next day, the chairperson of the committee meets you and says, see, 7 people have already said yes to my proposal. So what do you say? Then you will suddenly think, if 7 people have already said, that means this guy has majority on his or her side, then what can I do? Fine, I also agree. I also go with their decision. This is exactly what people say. So this is called coalition. So if you have the numbers on your side, you'll get more numbers. That is a simple, because we know in politics it plays a very important role, coalition governments. So if you get the numbers, you get more numbers. So this is again a very hard tactic of influencing. Now we come to the soft tactics of influencing. A rational persuasion. A rational persuasion, that means you go to somebody, talk sensibly and logically. The person will be persuaded. Socializing. Imagine if somebody socializes with you a lot, and then suddenly somebody says something, you're going to do it, right? Fine, it's okay. I'm contesting the election this year. I'm contesting this council election this year. Please vote for me. So you'll be doing it. So it is socializing, the power of socializing. When we begin to socialize, that means when we become friends, we can expect that from our friends. So this is a soft influencing tactic. And then exchange. Exchange is very common, very popular. Give something and take something from me. That is exchange. Help me this time, I'll help you the next time. All right? So exchange. And then personal appeal. Personal appeal means you are somebody people look up to. Oh, this guy. Very trustworthy, very honest, very sincere, very committed. So you have built that personal appeal. So whenever you say something, people will believe. They will accept what you say. Consultation. When you consult with others, or you go for a consultation with others, they will definitely be influenced. Oh, look at this. For example, you're the head of the department, and there are 5 or 10 other members in your department. So every time you make a decision, if you consult with the other faculty members in your department, they'll feel special. They'll say, oh, look at the head of the department. Every time he or she makes a decision, the person comes to me and consults me. You feel special, and you're always. So whenever the head of the department says something to you, you say, yes, sir, or madam, I'll do it. Don't worry. Because the head consults you, and you feel special about it. So again, a soft influencing tactic. And then finally, inspirational appeals. Inspirational appeals. You don't have to do anything else. Just inspire people. So when we are inspired by others, we don't have to interact with those people because we are already inspired by people. Just look at this Ekalavya story. Ekalavya was so inspired by Guru Dronacharya. He did not get permission to enter that academy, Dronacharya's academy. Still, he was so inspired by Dronacharya that he himself learned it. So inspirational appeals play a very important, a role in influencing others. Inspiration. So we look up to people. Okay, what is my idol or my ideal doing these days? I also do that. So these are the influencing tactics that we can think of. So more focused on self and more focused on others. So if we go for influencing tactics that are more focused on others, the impact will be greater. So consultation, starting with, exchange, personal appeal, consultation, inspirational appeals. So it'll be far better. So that brings us to the end of this session. And thank you very much for your time. Now I can take a few, of course, it's hit 7. And I'm sorry for that because I took more time than I actually expected or you anticipated.
Sir, there is one request to you.
Yes.
Sir, please share the PPT. Because I think it will be useful for me as well as the participants also.
Right, I'll share the PPT. The TLC will be sharing the PPT with you all. So I have already, hit the maximum, that is 7. But if you still want to share your views, your thoughts, your questions or your queries, you're most welcome. So I can take questions or queries from you. You can also share your observations, your comments, your suggestions. So yeah, right. It's open to you now.
Sir, can you explain SQ? SQ one more time? SQ is spiritual quotient. Spiritual quotient. Since we live in a very volatile or uncertain world, if we are not spiritually resilient, it's by spirituality, I do not mean, it's not necessarily being religious. Okay. So spiritual is something, there's some power inside you that sustains you in times of crisis. There's some power. You believe in some power, some oversoul, some divine soul, which sustains you in times of crisis. It can be personal crisis, it can be social crisis as well. Sir, bent towards Almighty, a little bent towards Almighty.
It can be any power because it's all about a renunciation. When we renounce our power, we give it to somebody else.
Yes, sir.
So, and we rely on that. It can be the over. So spiritual quotient is all about that. If you have the right kind of spiritual quotient, that means we must have a good sense of spirituality. And that will sustain us because it actually balances the onslaught of materiality. All right. Or imagine, for example, you may come across a person who has the most expensive iPhone in his or her hand, and that person is still not happy. What's the matter?
isn't it?
Sir, because he is unhappy from inner side.
Right. So spiritual quotient helps us overcome these challenges. Okay. So that is spiritual quotient. Okay. So that is it. Any other question or queries or comments or suggestions? You're most welcome to share your suggestions because we all are academics. So fine. If you do not have any other yes queries or questions, we can call it a day, right?
So,
I'm not from management domain, Dr. Chandok, but I do call myself a management guy. And so I have a great orientation towards management. I love doing that. Oh yes, I can understand. It's difficult to store so much of information, but I'll be sharing the PPT with you all, so so that you can make use of the information that I shared with you. And you also posted a question. The person with this or corporate ID, Global Teacher Educator. Fine. So you wanted to know about the other apps and softwares for research scholars, researchers. There are multiple such apps, of course. Now there is an AI thesis generator. You can try that as well. You can try concept maps as well. This cloud generator, where you can create a concept map for your research or dissertation or your thesis, or even the research paper as well. For example, there is something called an hourglass model of research. I don't know whether you're familiar with it or not. Are you familiar with the hourglass model of research? Please let me know quickly. So the hourglass model of research, all you can do, you can go to, just a moment. I'll quickly show you that if you have 2 minutes. Do you? Yeah, I'm quickly sharing that with you. All you need to do is to go to Google search box and type hourglass model of research. And then click, and then go to the images, and you'll come across, there are multiple, there's so many images, but this is my favorite, this one. Okay, so this is my favorite. Right. So is this visible to you? Please let me know.
Yes.
So you can call this an X-ray of all research papers, theses, and dissertations, X-ray of all research. All right, this is called the hourglass model of research. This one, the X-ray of all research. If you want to know what lies within research, this is the model. So I very strongly, feel that every researcher needs to start with this model. This should be the foundation of all research journey. Right. So that is it. You can also explore this on your own. So this is again a very important tool for the researchers. So that is it. All right then. So I think we have come to the end of this session now. So thank you very much for being there. Thank you very much for being such a wonderful audience. Of course, and such wonderful participants, rather, because you participated in several activities. And thank you very much. It was a pleasure meeting you all and interacting with you. Thank you. We'll meet again some other time with something else. So till then, bye-bye. So now I'm...
Sir.
Yes.
I wrote one question, sir. If you can answer it.
Can you repost? Can you post it again?
Yes, sir. The question is, sir, in that story, how referring to the tortoise and hare story, how can a lot of people in a company work together on one big problem, like the tortoise and the hare story you referred to? What is the best way for everyone to keep going and finish strong, making sure nobody feels too stressed? But then the group of people is large, sir. In tortoise and hare story, only 2 participants are there.
Okay, only 2 participants.
It's very large, but there is a big problem, and everyone has to solve the problem.
Yes, exactly. You're right. When you work in a big or large organization, so the chances are less, of course. But then it's not about an organization. It's about people who make an organization. Individuals actually make an organization. Okay. So when individuals come in contact with each other, they can always identify these qualities in each other, and they can experience that pull in each other. So that is how we generally do it. So we may not actually form a team. There's no need to form a team all the time, because teams are generally formed with a certain objective. And those objectives are most often official, right? Or institutional, organizational objectives. We may not actually form a team, but then when we keep meeting each other, we can easily identify the core competencies in each other. So even in a crowd, 2 people can meet, isn't it? When it comes to meeting, it generally happens with 2 people. So initially 2 people meet, then 4 people will come along, then 8 people will come along. So it's not about forming a team. It's about identifying each other's core competencies. For example, if I'm good at a certain skill and the other person is good at another skill, and if I can harness that from the other person, either I can acquire that from the other person, or because it's a transferable skill. For example, how to make a PPT is a transferable skill. There was a time when I didn't know how to make a PPT. I learned it from a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, isn't it? Because I acquired that skill. So that led to my personal growth as well, isn't it? So it is all about first identifying your competencies and identifying the competencies of others. This will happen only when we meet people, we interact with them. So that's the hallmark. Otherwise, it will not happen. So that's whether it is an accidental meeting, and you'll be surprised. You can look for such experiences where people met somebody accidentally, and they learned so much from those people. They acquired so many skills from those people. So this can happen. So when we do this, okay. So that is, and see, imagine I'm working at IIT BHU Varanasi. I have several collaborations at other places. How did those collaborations happen? I once read a very interesting article by a professor called Adam Wades, who is a professor of management at Kellogg's Business School in the United States. I read that article online, and then I promptly shot an email to that person, appreciating various aspects of it, and then, raising some concern over certain other issues. And that professor liked it very much. He replied promptly, "Now we are good friends. We know each other's competencies, and we respect those competencies now. So we are very good friends. We collaborate." So that is it. That is how it will happen. Only when we create opportunities for ourselves. That is the thing. Thank you. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, sir. Great answer. Thank you so much.